Welcome to the No Budget Indie Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe to highlight those little films that you might not have heard about, you might not have heard about elsewhere. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Will you agree with our panel of fuck? What? It's not like a tongue twister here. Will you agree with our panel, or will our panel agree with each other? Tune in to find out. Jesus, that was difficult today. I am Milo Dennison. Joining me, as always, are Claire Milan.
Hello.
And Cathal Feeney.
Hello.
All right, Claire, hopefully you can clearly explain. What are we watching today?
Yes, so today we're reviewing a film called The Phone Call. I actually read about this film before. It won the Oscar in 2015. And I came across this new site called filmshort.com, and it seems to have loads of different short films on it, which is quite interesting, and it asks people to give reviews underneath afterwards. So The Phone Call, it stars Sally Hawkins and Jim Broadbent in the kind of two main roles, and deals with a crisis center worker called Heather, and she takes a phone call from this man who's just lost his wife, and it sounds like he's taken an overdose, and she's trying to help him. I thought it was a really beautiful film, very simple premise, because a lot of it is just focused on Sally Hawkins on telephone and Jim Broadbent's voice, and I thought it was very well kind of set up, and I really like the cinematography in it, and I suppose that what the standout really is the acting, because Sally Hawkins in the main role was just phenomenal. And the film it's directed by Mat Kirkby, and it's written by James Lucas and Mat Kirkby. And before it won the Oscar, it won a Tribeca, which then qualified for it to be shortlisted for the Oscar, and then it won the 2015 short film Oscar. So yeah, what do you think of it? Because for me anyway, at the end, it was a very emotional film, and it left a really kind of emotive, sad impression with me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the performance was really nice by Sally. I mean, brilliant. Without her, it definitely would not have been as decent of a film. It's funny though. Do you find as you guys watch films nowadays that you're trying to kind of predict what's going to happen? Like I've turned in, and it's really annoying because as soon as the guy starts talking and kind of breathing heavily, I'm like, okay, it's going to be like a perv call, or like I'm in the building call, something like that. I'm just assuming the worst, before it actually got into the reason of his call and stuff like that. And I need to stop doing that. I need to step back and just actually let the film unfold. Because with this, the whole time I was just kind of predicting. And I think that's part of the pacing. It is a very slow film. It's a long 20 minutes, especially considering of the 20 minutes, 15 of those are just on her. And then with the occasional, cutaway shots to the house and stuff like that. But yeah, performance-wise, it was really, really well done.
Well, I know the filmmakers, they waited for a whole year for her to become available to this film. So I think it is a very well-written script, and even the way Jim Broadbent, you just hear his voice throughout most of the film. It's extremely well acted from him as well. But what really elevates it is just her performance. And the fact the camera I love the way the camera, they're very simple setups. It kind of a hit shot of her up close, very simple. And even the set, it was kind of a blue tone to it. It was nearly like a set more than a real crisis center. So I think that was probably on purpose, maybe the kind of a choice they made. And as well, the room, there's only two of them in the crisis center room. Because I've seen other films with crisis centers, and they're usually packed and noisy, and people with headsets. But with this, there wasn't no people with headsets. It was just two people in a room, and they were very far away from each other. Yeah. And they were using old telephones, and and that was kind of interesting. And I just thought, because at the start it opens in a bus shelter, and her reading a book, and she just comes across very lonely, And sometimes films, they're too long, but with this, I think the length was perfect, because it needed to be, I think, in order to create the atmosphere, and because she's such a fabulous actress, I think it worked so well. But I wonder if there was an actress who wasn't so emotive, that would it have done so well, you know, or would it just been buried underneath a load of other short films which have kind of a similar premise?
Yeah, I think not. Yeah, go ahead, Carl.
No, I was just going to say, this is probably the third or fourth film I've seen based on this exact premise now. So it's obviously fertile ground for short filmmakers. Now I have to say, like, they've all been very good. Maybe that's because the algorithm is pushing good films towards me, but I'm sure there are bad ones out there as well. Like, as you guys say, like it really is a superb performance by Sally Hawkins in the main role. And when you see, you know, Sally Hawkins and Jim Broadbent and the credits, you know, it's going to be a good film. Like, because particularly for a short film, they're not going to attach themselves to something that's mediocre. Funny thing about Sally Hawkins is probably the first time I became aware of her in a real sense as an actor was for Blue Jasmine, which was a few years ago. That was a Woody Allen film. Cate Blanchett was in the lead role, and she won an Oscar, I think. And so did actually Sally Hawkins win an Oscar. And I remember watching that, going, wow, she's very good. And she was already, like, you know, well established. I'd probably seen her and stuff before. But yeah, like it is you know, great performance. But at the same time, and I know Mila was going to agree with me here, that it is 24 karat, you know, pure grade petroleum material for Oscar. Like, yeah. It's, you know, hook that up to my veins. Like, it's it just ticks all the boxes, you know, like you know, very emotional, these loss and pain and death and pathos. It's everything there, you know. So you kind of go, oh, you know, not again.
But it didn't actually.
But it is a great film.
Into be like, you know, the way sometimes these films are too overly sentimental, and you're like, oh, you know. But this didn't push it so much. It kind of it kind of had a lot of breath in it. You know, it didn't like force it down. We have to cry now, you know. So I don't know. Again, that could be just the understated performance that really, like, she didn't push it. You know, it could be the directing as well.
She was brilliant, and it was very well judged at the film. Very well. It was. I mean, if the ending had been different, you might have gone, oh, okay, they kind of saw that, but they didn't. And interesting little trivia. The wife, right? That she's briefly on the screen. Do you know who that was?
No, didn't recognize her.
You wouldn't recognize her. I didn't recognize the name. That was Mrs. Faulty, Prunella Scales.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
She was literally flashing by. You know, she wasn't even on screen.
No, you wouldn't recognize her. Like, I just read in the credits afterwards, went, oh yeah, Prunella Scales. So just a little bit of trivia jumped out of me. No wonder he killed. No, never mind. Yeah, like it's you know, I mean, yeah, it got me thinking as well about the people that do this kind of work, these helplines. That it must be really difficult. You have to be very empathetic, but also mentally be very resilient to cope with dealing with this kind of thing, you know, regularly. So they do it for free mostly, as far as I know, you know. So they're kind of they're the real heroes, to be honest.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, did you wonder about that with her though? Like, if she had the capacity to be good at, I mean, because obviously she was very empathetic, but I imagined her as the kind of person to take the job home with her as well a little bit.
Definitely. Like, at first, she's looking at the clock, and I knew, like, it was probably to do with the, you know, because the guy had taken pills. Mm-hmm. But I thought, oh, is this kind of, they only have 15 minutes to talk to people and have to be on to the next caller, or, you know, but I know it was kind of the pills. She was afraid he was going to have an overdose. But yeah, she actually volunteered her like Sally Hawkins worked for free on this. Maybe there was a connection there. There's something she had experienced, or, you know, there was an emotional connection to the piece. Yeah. She volunteered for free for it.
That's nice. Or maybe she knows the filmmakers or something.
Yeah. But it's true. She did come across like someone who definitely took everything home with her. You know, and I know people who have become psychotherapists and counselors, and so they have to get counseling themselves as well to deal with the stuff they're hearing. You know, and it's like I couldn't do it. Like I'd,
No way,
you
me
know,
neither.
No,
I'd
absolutely
bring
not.
everything home with me. I couldn't do it. And it was a lovely moment where the phone line rings 3 times. Like there was kind of an anticipation before she answered the phone. It wasn't immediate. It was just like she's getting ready and she's kind of nearly taking a kind of deep breath and then pick up the phone call, you know, and yeah, and she was taking the notes. I love that. I loved the way she would take the notes, and then the camera would go and see what she was writing, like the different words, and you know, I just thought that was really nice touch as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was almost like she was doing a bit of sleuthing there, you know, trying to guess, you know, find out who he was or where he lived. Like,
Yeah.
So it had that little bit of, you know, suspense, you know, how's this going to finish. But it also got me thinking about the Jim Broadbent character. That I kind of haven't felt, well, you know what, like just let him do what he wants to do. You know, he's like he's you know he's had his life, and he's decided, like, okay, you know, I just don't want to continue. And as part of me thought, well, that's his decision. You know, let him do it. You know, why do we have this? It's almost like we're sort of conditioned to try and, you know, not let people do this. And I mean, probably, like, obviously he was lonely and, you know, isolated, probably depressed, and possibly, like, with the right intervention, he could, you know, found a new lease of life. But sometimes, you know, you think to yourself, well, look, why is it such a big deal?
And it's funny because at first I thought he murdered the wife. It looked like that, didn't it? To me anyway, it looked like, oh sugar,
That's
what's
what I was
he done to
thinking
the
too.
wife, you know? And then I loved the way the reveal of the story. Like he had he revealed he's a stillborn daughter, you know, and then the wife is buried with the daughter, and there was a sense of relief then. But I was thinking, and I think as well, the character was thinking he murdered the wife and she had a panic. But I loved that kind of the way the story evolved, and no spoilers or anything, but I loved the ending, which I shall not spoil.
No, I agree.
I loved it.
Sorry, Molly, go ahead.
Yeah, no, the ending was nice because it didn't have a Hollywood ending, which was good. But I need to agree with you, Carl, too, on the like, you know, letting a person go when they're ready to go. Kind of like, it's funny as a society that we like force people to live as long as possible, and they're like, you know, I've lived my life, I've done everything I want to do, just kind of, yeah. And it was nice, and really he just wanted to have somebody to talk to, you know, towards the end. So, yeah.
I think she
And
saw
there is,
that well because she was lonely, so when she listened to him, she saw that herself, you know.
And also the thing about the stillborn daughter, like, that it shows that they had no children, so he's probably nobody left, you know, like he is alone to all intents and purposes. So that sort of does inform us about that.
It's very relevant to like today as well, because there's so much isolation happening, forced isolation during lockdown. You know, it's very sad.
All right, rating time.
So for me, I thought it was a very simple premise, but beautifully written, extremely well acted, which will leave a very powerful impression with you afterwards. So I'll give it 4 stars.
No, I'll go. I will pretty much echo what Claire said there, so I will give it 4 stars.
I agree with you both. However, I'm going to give it 3 stars. See, this is why I was going to go next, Cathal, because I didn't want you to accuse me of changing my rating based upon what you guys is.
You were going to go next. You know,
well, that's why I was willing to.
Opportunity.
Yeah, well, that's why I said, do you want me to go next? Because I don't. You accuse me of changing my rating so that I won't have the same rating.
So justify that horrifically low.
The whole, it's not horrifically low. 3 is like, it's a decent film, you know. I think, you know.
So just 3 stars. That's it.
Somebody made a film doesn't mean they get, like, you know, 10 stars. You know, 10 star for showing up. Not that we do 10 stars, but you know. No, 3's good. 3's good. I liked it. I just didn't love it. I don't know. It's just not my style of film. But I mean, I think it's a lovely film, and you know, if you want to give it 4, if another person wants to give it 5, great. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Alrighty.
All right, No Budget Filmcast audience, there you have it. We all really liked this film, even though I only gave it 3 stars, which apparently is a bad thing. If you enjoy this show, as always, you can leave a comment or a review, share it with your friends, let them know how awesome we are. And with that, we will say, stay tuned to see what we are watching next week, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Goodbye. Obviously wasn't that low, but I was